Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. In last video we talked about how we can connect the mailing task manager to the Git repository and create the issue and label it as a requirement. For now I created an requirement, and this requirement is about just moving the robot forward, so activating motors for 5 seconds, and all our code gonna be constructed around this requirement. And the next step is that to create a local Git repository and connect it to the Git repository and to the remote Git repository. So for do this, first we need to download the Git bash from the Git website. So you can simply Google it and download the version for your machine. If you are a Linux user, or if you are a Mac user, you can download the corresponding version. I'm using currently Windows. So the next step is that our repository is created now, and we can access the URL to our repository clicking on the clone, and this is the link to the repository. Now we want to add our local repository to the remote. So to do so, this step is the first step is that to open a Git bash simply by right click, open the Git bash, and the Git bash gonna be open in this folder. Next step is that using the commands to push this local repository to the remote repository. And if you create your local repository for the first time, the Git will recommend you how to do this. I'm just simply following the instruction from the Git, so it shouldn't be a problem. The first thing is that to create a README file. So with this command we create a README file for a project, then initialization, and as you see in the background, the commands has effect in the folder that I'm gonna put the code inside. Next step is to commit the first commit. First we need to add the changes. So add the changes and then call the commit, and then next step using the URL provided here, and the next step is to push this local branch to the remote. There was a small issue because in my local repository I have a README file. Pushing the local to the master wasn't fast forward. So the simple solution is that to force pushing using this extra command here. So you force your local repository to be merged into the master branch. So if we go back here, refresh, you see that the first command 2 minutes ago I added the I connected my local repository to the Git. So the next step is that to go to the Eclipse, go to the Git, and there are two options that you can do. You can use the local repository and you can clone directly from the Git repository. Since we have created our local repository, so I'm gonna add my local repository from my Eclipse workspace. It scans for the initialization folder, and as you see that I have this here, which shows the folder that I just initialized for the Git, adding it here, and this is gonna be my master branch. So whenever I'm working on my code, first thing I do is that I create a feature branch, I do the work on the feature branch, and then merge it to the master. I will cover that part in the next videos, but for now this was the first step that you can create a local branch and push it to the upstream repository in the Git. So this is in your Git repositories view, but as you see here, project view is still empty. So what we're gonna do next is that we're gonna extend here, come here to the working tree, and import it as a project. The fact is that when we go back here, we have this folder which gonna host our project or Lego Milestone project. So whenever I want to create a project, I'm gonna create the project inside this folder, and this folder gonna automatically be detected by Git. I can push the changes I do here into my Git repository. The next step is that to show you how to get the leJOS framework to install on the brick, and also how we can add it to the Eclipse. To work with the leJOS, first you need to adapt your Eclipse to be able to use the libraries that are designed to program the Java, using the Java, and simply you can come to the marketplace and search for the leJOS, and install the package. Don't worry if you don't find it here, you can simply search for the leJOS FOS plugin and then drag and drop this installation link to the marketplace window. So simply add it here, and because I already installed it, so I'm not going to install it again. The second option that you can use is that you can simply go to the install software panel and add the link explicitly here. So this is the link, and you can add the link here. So I added already and I installed it, so I have access to the leJOS framework in my Eclipse, and also if I want to create a project, I can create a project for the leJOS framework. So this is the easiest part and easiest way to do the programming breaks using Java with the help of the leJOS framework. So in next steps, we're going to demonstrate how we can program using the framework and how we can use this program on the brick. The next thing that you need to do is that to install the leJOS on the brick. To install the leJOS on the brick, you need to first download the leJOS application for your computer, and you also need to have Java framework 1.7. At the moment, the leJOS is not compatible with the newer version, and the stable version is the 1.7. So you also need to find a JDK 1.7, install it, download it from the Oracle website. For downloading this version, you need to have an account on the Oracle website. It's not a big deal. And you also can use the manual provided in the leJOS project organization website. I'm just gonna quickly demonstrate what are the important steps to cover. So these are quite fast forward. You don't need to do anything important. The most important part is that in this step, when you insert the SD card in your computer to download the image on the leJOS, download the leJOS image on your SD card, this part is automatically selected. The thing that you need to be aware of is this part. So I'm gonna show you what to download, and also when you insert the SD card into the brick and boot up, it automatically will gonna boot the system using the SD card. So there are two versions that you need to be aware of them. So we need to show, I need to show them that, and then the rest is easy. And the other important is that the SD card should be between 2 GB to 32. Personally, I'm using a 16 GB SD card, and it works on the 16 GB also perfectly. So be careful that you need something between 2 to 32 GB. So when you install the application, at the end, when the tick is here, you're gonna have this window at the end, and when you click the link to download the EV3 Oracle GRE, it will open up this window. So you need to download this, and it's automatically gonna use this GRE file on the image provided on the SD card. So when it starts booting up, it will use this to the provided SD card. This is the only part I want to draw your attention to, and the rest is just inserting the SD card into the brick and waiting to installation finish. After the installation finish, the next step is that to start programming. But as you remember in the first video, we shouldn't start just programming and putting on the computer and putting on the brick. We're gonna stepwise do implementation and also test them locally with our mock data or stop that we are providing. So for instance, we're gonna work on the moving the motors. So the next step is to create a mock motor and use this motor to check the code to see that the code is working, and then put it in the brick to test and run. So now what I'm gonna do is that to create a leJOS project, and I'm gonna name it like move motor. This is also important. Be careful that our framework gonna compile with the version 1.7, so be sure that you are selecting this version for the environment, runtime environment, and then finish. So as you see, we have this project here, and this project also using this library, which is provided automatically as we selected the leJOS project. The other thing that I want to draw your attention to is that the location that we're gonna put the project is also important. So we're gonna put the project inside the folder that we just recently connected to the Git repository. So I'm gonna use this specific folder. Enter. And so we're gonna put this project inside the Sofa project, Sofa folder. And since okay, so as you see, there is a question mark here. So if I open up the Git window, you're gonna see there are numerous files to be added. So I just simply add them. And the important thing, as we discussed earlier, was that we're gonna use the number of the requirement to commit our code. So now I'm using this, and you can also add extra information to it. Project for testing so we can commit this changes and then push them later, or we can commit and push at the same time. I personally recommend you to commit each time that you have a change based on the issue number, and then push them at once. But since we just have this changes here, we just commit and push at the same time. So as you see, the question mark is now gone, and when we go back to the Git repository, we're gonna have a folder which hosts our project, and inside it there is everything connected to about this project. So our changes from now on, specifically about this project, gonna be committed and pushed to this folder, and we can separate different modules with this technique that I just showed you. This is all about this video, and thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, also following us on Instagram, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.